Well, hello everyone. I guess we're live. I'll just wait for a second. If somebody wants to say hello, that way I know that this is streaming. We'll go ahead and get started. Hello, Roberta from the historic section. All right. I think we're live. I can't tell. YouTube isn't telling me anything yet. Oh, hello everyone. Wow. All right, come on. YouTube, tell me something here. Doesn't tell me anybody's watching. Can anybody hear me? Ah, you're on. All right. Excellent. Well, hello everyone. So when I originally decided to do today's broadcast, I was going to talk about the impact fees. But in the last day or two, some things have really blown up about our maintenance assessment in many of the newer areas, specifically 14, CDD 14, which would be the villages of Newell, Lake Denham, and Dabney. They are seeing a 56% increase. All right. Sounds like everything is working. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Let me see if it says how many we got here. Oh, it says we got 16 views. I don't know. YouTube is always screwy with its statistics. Anyway, so 56% increase in maintenance assessment is pretty shocking for most people, and I would agree. But I will tell you this, that it is not a new occurrence. This happens frequently. Basically, when a CDD gets built out, and CDD 14 got built out a lot quicker, so the increase was much more significant seen than what is normally seen. Normally, it might take 2 years to build out a CDD. They did it in one, so they saw a big increase. So let's talk about the increase. Let's see if I can shift over to the other screen. All right. So maintenance assessment increases. So first off, let's talk about what is a maintenance assessment. The maintenance assessment is what takes care of the common properties in your community development district. That's not the amenities. Okay? The amenities are things like the pool, pickleball courts, recreation centers. Those the CDD does not own. They do not take care of them. That's covered under your amenity fee. And that could be a topic for a whole nother day. It also has nothing to do with the bond directly. The bond built everything. The maintenance assessment now takes care of those common areas. This is the retention ponds, the drainage systems, some of the roadways. So the grass areas that you see, the boulevards, cutting all this stuff, the sprinkler systems and that. That's what your maintenance assessment is taking care of. Okay. Again, it just takes care of the community development district maintenance. Each CDD determines what their, excuse me, each CDD determines what their, somebody asked, what's a CDD? Yes, it's a community development district. And that is how the villages is built, and it's a very effective means. It's a small state government, a body of state government. It's a special purpose government chartered under Florida Statute Chapter 190. But anyway, each community development district has things it has to maintain, and that's what this money goes to. So really, it is like another property tax. The best thing I can say about this is it's much better spent. And I say that in all earnest, because I see how taxes are spent, and sometimes I question it. But the CDDs, these are normally residents just like yourselves that are watching this, that are making the decisions on what the money gets spent on. So they're very conscious about where it's going. So why did it go up so much? Well, because CDD 14 grew a lot last year. I'm going to throw up a video here. This was CDD 14 a year ago. This is Lake Denham that's in this section of the video. And at the top of the screen is Dabney, and on the upper left is the Enclave. And a year ago, and now this is June 30th of 2023, or excuse me, July 30th of 2023. So it is a year and 11 days ago. There wasn't a whole lot there. Because there wasn't a lot there wasn't a lot to take care of, mainly the stuff up in the village of Newell. So I'll let this play. This is rather short. But you can see, again, it was empty. There's the Dabney recreation area. Nothing was there. They hadn't built the mail center or anything. Well, I guess they did. Yeah, the pool is there. But anyway, not a lot. So there wasn't a lot to take care of. There wasn't a lot of grass to cut. There wasn't a lot of retention pond to take care of, because these were just sitting stagnant. So there was no cost. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about some misconceptions before I go any farther. Okay, misconception number one, it's not mismanagement. Okay, it is the cost of maintaining the community development district is more, because there's more to take care of. When that video was shot a year ago, there wasn't a whole lot it was taken care of, so there wasn't much cost. It's not greed. Okay, the only people making a profit on this are the contractors, because the developer is not involved. The developer has given or has deeded over the common properties to the community development district. And that's just part of how our community is built. It also deeded over the roadways to the county. So the roads belong to the county, and the rest of the common properties and the retention ponds and all that belong to your community development district. The developer is basically not involved. The developer is involved, however, with the amenities. And they own those amenities. You pay your amenity fee. If you live south of 44, your amenity fee goes to the developer, and they pay the operating and maintenance costs. They have to pay property taxes on it. They have to pay utilities. They pay the community development, the district government, specifically the recreation department, for the staffing costs and any other costs that they incur through the recreation department or through the golf assessment, or excuse me, the golf course operating costs. So the developer, they take care of the amenities, but that's it. They're done. Okay. Roberta says, aren't some of those contractors related to the developers in some way or another? So that's a common misconception. The only exception to that, I will say, is TSG, Technology Solutions Group. They're the IT providers. Okay, that is a developer-owned company, but they put the CDD government has to put everything out to bid. Okay, the district staff puts everything out to bid. TSG has an advantage in that they are deeply embedded because they've been working with the district government for a long time. So they know exactly what things cost. They're not having to take guesses. Having done bid work for about 20 years, it was always much easier to win a bid when they were an existing customer than it was if it was a new customer, because you either bid too low and lost your shirt, or you bid too high because you were trying to cover all your risk and you didn't get the job. The rest of the contractors are not. They're screened based on a point system by the purchasing department, and so the developer really isn't involved. So there's a bunch of questions popping up on the screen. Utility services went up 42%. Wow. Guess what? There's more lights that had to be taken care of, more aerators for the retention ponds, things like that. Repair and maintenance went up a little bit. Yep. Right now, repair and maintenance is relatively low, but this will creep up over the years coming up. The last one, the big increase, is EMAC fees. This is the Eastport. I don't know. I don't even know what I don't remember what it stands for. But anyway, this is the same as PWAC, project-wide. Oh my gosh, I was on PWAC for 8 years. Project-wide Advisory Committee. Okay, basically, what EMAC does is they take on the bulk of the contracts for landscaping and maintenance and things like that, and they split it up between the various CDDs that are part of EMAC. In this case, it's just 14 and 15, 15 being Moultrie Creek and Shady Brook, 14 being Lake Denham, Dabney, and Newell. They combine everything, they split it up based on acreage, and so instead of having CDD 14 having a grass cutting contract, EMAC will get it and then allocate the cost appropriately. Because so much property, you saw the video just a couple of minutes ago, so much property was added to the maintenance requirements, more grass to be cut, more retention ponds to be taken care of. That's where the bulk of the increase went, and it gets pushed to EMAC. So a big chunk of your budget every year goes to EMAC. And that's not a bad thing, because not only do you share they share the cost, so it's like going to Costco and buying the gallon jug of ketchup, okay, instead of the small bottle. You save money in these big contracts. But you also share risk. So if something were to happen, let's say a pumping station gets struck by lightning, has to be fixed, it's $100,000. Well, each CDD that's part of EMAC will share part of that cost. That way you don't see that $100,000 increase the following year, and you don't feel that big impact on your budget. So it is a very good tool. Project-wide Advisory Committee has been in existence since 2010, I believe it is. Yeah, 2010. And it has worked well. We've had things go wrong that needed to be addressed, and the cost was shared. EMAC was originally envisioned to be PWAC 2. PWAC 2 was supposed to have everything south of State Road 44. That got shot down due to some foolish decisions made by CDD 7's leadership. I'll say that out loud because I'm not afraid to. I thought it was stupid. They didn't even put it to a vote. And because of the way the PWAC agreement was done, it had to be a unanimous consent, so therefore it got shot down. That cost every CDD north of 44 about $100,000 a year. All right. Again, management fees went up. Tax collector fees, there's more properties. The tax collector gets 2% of the maintenance assessment for collecting it. Irrigation water went up. Landscape maintenance. This is the part that's done by the CDD. There's small areas that are done by the CDD, and then EMAC does the bulk of it. Okay. All right. Here's the detailed budget breakdown. Again, these are a lot of the same numbers that you just saw on the previous screen. You can get this at the districtgov.org website. Go to CDD 14 under your district and look at the agenda for, I believe this came out of August, the August 8th agenda. Okay. This is the impact it has on your property. Okay. This is a 56% increase. Again, the increase came because a year ago, there was very little error. There was part of Newell, and that was it. And in the last year, a lot more stuff has come online. Okay. All right. So I think, that's a little bit bigger. And what this tells you is your unit number. If you don't know your unit number, it's on your little green or blue card that you have in your wallet. It tells you your unit and lot number. And basically, this is what each unit's going to pay. Villa communities tend to pay less because it's based on a per acre formulation. Basically, they look at the number of acres, in this case 639.75 acres, and they divide the total cost of the budget by that many acres, and then each unit or subdivision has a certain number of acres that are involved with it. They get that many acre allocations, and it's divided by the number of homes. If you look at Unit 84, it's 45 acres, but only has 121 homes. They have the largest maintenance assessment, but they have the biggest lots too. All right. So let's go back, because I believe, we'll come back to this part. Because I want to go back to your questions. Wow. So we got a lot of questions here. So I'm gonna roll my screen back a little bit and see what the first question was. We're watching. Everything sounds great. I see 147 and I can hear you. You see 147 and you can hear me. I don't know about that, Arslan. All right, watching the closing ceremonies. Yeah, it's probably more interesting than me. I see 170. Okay, so Jim wants to know, what's a CDD? Again, Community Development District. It is a special purpose government governed under Florida Chapter 190 of the Florida laws. Okay. Tom wants to know, is the county road between Dabney and the Enclave part of the maintenance fee since the strip is owned by the county? So that's a good question. I don't know who's taking care of that. I believe the county takes care of that because all the roads are turned over to the county. That is a very special area. It's very unique because it's going through county property. That generally doesn't happen. But that wetlands area is going to be preserved for forever. So Donna D wants to know, is this a one-time increase? Yes and no. Yes, it's increasing. But just like everything else, your costs every year go up. Gas prices go up. Fertilizer costs are going to go up. Water costs go up. As those increase, your CDD government will have to increase its maintenance assessment. Actually, with what you've seen here, what you should see in future years from past experience is as more CDDs come online, that cost sharing and cost savings becomes larger. And you should start seeing the project-wide fees initially go down. Again, those costs, once the number of CDDs becomes stable in EMAC, then you're going to start seeing costs start to rise as the county rise, or as the cost rise. Phew, sorry. So Jim wants to know, if we compare CDD 13 maintenance fees with the new fee here, is it comparable? I'm going to say no, Jim, because there's some there's some physical differences. If you look at 14, it's very long and strung out. Okay, so they have a lot more roadway. They have a lot more areas that have longer pipes to take care of, everything like that. When you look at 13, 13 includes DeLuna, the Richmond, St. John's area, and the area Hawkins, Bradford, Chitty Chatty, St. Catherine's, whatever the other, Citrus Grove, and whatever that one is, other one. I can't remember them all half the time anyway. So those are much more compact. They're rounder, if you will. So they have less surface area if we were to look at an object. But the CDD 13, it's seeing increases too because of rising costs. And let's see, Roberta asked about the contractors being related to the developer. No, again, only the IT contractor, and honestly, the IT contractor is involved at Franklin Recreation Center, but they also do some of the communications for the lift gates and that. So, wait, the lift gates are part of the amenities. I'm trying to think. So the communications for the retention pond control and aeration systems is the only thing we really have IT costs for. Let's see. Good explanation. Okay, this is from RT6. Good explanation, Don. Is that? Yeah, I'm going to get this out in a second. There are now many more residents living here now, which would supply more funds. Can you address that? Why 6% in light of more residents? Good question. Because you still have the same number of properties paying the fees. Last year, all those undeveloped properties, the developer was paying that maintenance assessment, or they paid a prorated portion of it until the property was sold. If you remember, during your closing, you got hit with a prorated maintenance assessment. And that's because they stopped paying it for whenever you purchased the house. But so they were paying it for the majority of the homes, and it was coming out of their pocket. That's part of the reason why they're always in a hurry to get out of an area, because they don't want to continue to pay that. So the number of payers essentially has stayed the same because the number of properties or plotted properties has remained the same. If you look at last year's budget, it shows all the units, the subdivisions, and the number of properties in each unit and how much each was paying. And again, the developer was paying that. If you look at Unit 84, the Enclave, there's 20-some lots there. They're still paying that every year, or they'll continue to pay the maintenance assessment on those, including this new higher maintenance assessment. Victoria wants to know, is there a separate invoice bill that you receive for this? This comes in the non-ad valorem section of your annual county property tax bill. So if you look at your county property tax bill, there's two sections. The upper section is the ad valorem, or value-based, and that includes your county property tax, city property tax, if you live in Leesburg or Wildwood, or Lady Lake or Fruitland Park. Each of those have a city tax. It also includes the two school taxes, one for the state, one for local, and it includes a SwiftMud. I believe SwiftMud, Southwest Florida Water Management District, is also in that. And in the lower section is the non-ad valorem section. This is your bond and your maintenance assessment. Okay. Let's see. With this increase, I hope they improve the looks of how District 14 looks compared to the rest of the villages. I feel like we don't look nearly as well kept. I will tell you that it takes generally about 2 years before things really start to look nice. I'm up here in the village of Hillsborough. And I can remember when we moved in, the sod was still taking root, and the trees were spindly, and it wasn't as attractive as the area up around like Lake Sumter. But now I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I look at the house I bought down in Moultrie Creek. Every time I drive, I go, I'm gonna have to look at this for another 5 years before it really starts to be attractive to me. Let's see. You say the developer is done, but aren't the developer's reps running the CDD at the start? So they are developer. Let me use the correct term. It's called a landowner election. Each property owner who owns 1 acre or any portion thereof gets 1 vote in a landowner election. So if you have a 1/4 acre lot, then you get 1 vote. And if there's 4 people with a 1/4 acre lot, that's 4 votes for that 1 acre. But if I own 1 acre and a 1/4, I get 2 votes. Okay, so there's always generally more votes than there are acres. When was it 22? I think it was 22 when CDD 14 came online. There was 1 landowner. And yes, everybody there has some relationship with the developer. I'm going to get to that, though, in just a minute when we come back to this slide where I talk about qualified elector. Because I'm going to also talk about landowner. But November, there is the ability to transition that to residents. So again, I'll talk about that in just a minute. Let's see. Roberta says, I thought one of the construction companies was run by a guy whose wife was related to the Morse family or something like that. The construction companies, the developer runs the construction companies. He has a group of project managers that are very good at what they do. I was a construction project manager for almost 20 years, working for Johnson Controls before I retired 6 years ago. I know what a difficult job it is. I know what they're having to juggle, and they have much more to juggle than I ever did. I only worked on, projects, $10, $15 million. They're working on $100 million projects here. Anyway, so they're, yes, they're being built by the developer. So let's see. Tom R. says, hopefully discussion on increases in maintenance fees. I saw that Seco LED pole rentals also being increased by more than 50%. Why is the increase so much? Ooh, good question, Tom. First off, I think Duke is providing the power in District 14. The other CDDs are being supplied by Seco. I wish I had a good answer on this. I mean, I've heard it was an administrative error. I've heard, we changed out the lights to LED, so there's that cost. I gotta hold my watch up because it's not bullshit proof. I'm sorry for my language, and it's getting deep. I think I thought it was a little ridiculous. I could see 10% or whatever, but this is just it's nuts. But they agreed to cut the increase in half and do the other half next year, but that's affecting all the CDDs that have poles supplied by Seco. But no, this in 14, I believe they're provided by Duke. So how does the Dabney maintenance fee compare to other established districts? Is it similar that Don? If it's similar, that Don's explanation would make sense. So the expenses are similar. some of the contracts were let a couple of years ago, which is actually playing a good considering how inflation was for the last couple of years. So wow, it was, that's helped keep those costs down. But you guys in District 14, you get to take your contracts out when inflation was at its worst, and those prices are a little bit higher. But basically, though, they're similar. Again, because you're long and stretched out, you've got more areas that have to be maintained. Let's call it more acres per home of open space because the CDD is so stretched out. So it's going to be a little bit higher. Let's see. Jim says it's about a $300 increase in Unit 44 annually. Yep, probably so. So let's see. How do these increased fees compare to what other? Okay. So Tom R says, how do these increased fees compare to other villages that have been around for 3 or more years? So again, your maintenance assessment is higher again because of really the configuration of it. You're very long, skinny CDD. I mean, I'm in 10. We're just this big chunk that sits between, basically between everything south of Hillsborough Trail, going all the way across, plus a little bit more. So we're a big fat district. So we don't have a whole lot of extra roadway. So K Swan says, if I purchased a home and snowbirded, do you know if my mother could live there year-round if she's not on the deed and have access to things that she needs for finger? Okay, so yes, your mother could, K Swan. That's not a problem. This was a question that came up last week. The difference is you get a blue ID, and she'll get a blue ID instead of a green ID. Green IDs are for the homeowners, those that are on the deed, and blue would be for the other people that live there. Pardon me, those of you who watch the show frequently know that I'm a big coffee drinker. We have 360 people online right now. Wow. That is a new record. Thank you all for joining. Hopefully, I'm explaining this so everybody can understand what's going on. Let's see. Andrea says, sorry I missed the start. However, as a new resident who asked these type of fees cost and were told no, feeling a bit deceived. If you were told no, well, A, you didn't read your paperwork. Because it's all in the closing documents. And I know that for a fact because in May, I went through my closing, and having been involved with the CDD government for the better part of 10 years and been looking at this stuff for that entire time, I knew what to look for, and it was all there. Let's see. T. Jefferson for President 2024. Some of these names, okay. Seems to me like all these people in Dabney, Lake Denham, and the Enclave are now paying so that they should are now paying in, so that should offset the new costs. Again, these were already being paid, but they were being paid by the developer in those areas. And now the residents get to pay it, but the costs have increased because there's more to maintain. Let's see. John asks, as Eastport keeps getting bigger, will the EMAC keep going up? Eastport is the size that Eastport is going to be. Eastport will contribute to EMAC. But the other areas, so 15, CDD 15, as its cost increase, its allocation to EMAC is going to increase, which is going to buy the 5-gallon jar of ketchup instead of the 1-gallon jar, so you get an even bigger discount. But then again, once all the CDDs that are going to fit into EMAC are there, then you will definitely see increases as costs increase. So Andrea, yes, 56% is a lot, but again, this CDD was built most of it was built in a little over a year. So at the very beginning, when the first people moved in and the first assessments were established, there wasn't a lot there, so there wasn't a lot of cost, and they couldn't just take a swag and take a wild guess at what it was going to be, because they didn't have the contracts yet, but now they have the contracts to take care of these. So, there's just more there, folks. That's all there is to it. There's more there that has to be taken care of, and you weren't paying for it before. Okay, so right now, you're running pretty tight on your budget, I'm sure. I'm sure, because you got all these fees to pay, because you're taking care of more and more. But the assessment is based on last year's assessment. All right. Joe says, if there's more property to maintain, the cost is spread across more homes. Again, it wasn't about the homes. It was about the number of lots. Each lot had to pay it, and the developer was paying on all those lots that were empty that were in that video earlier. So now we've got more cost. It's got to go up. Question, the sinkhole that was recently repaired in the tunnel, who paid for that repair? EMAC? No, EMAC did not. That was, I believe, covered by the Project-Wide Advisory Committee, or the Project-Wide Fund, which is the fund that they maintain, because that was part of the infrastructure. It's not an amenity. So that was project-wide. So basically everybody from County Road 466 all the way down to Finney and CDD 13, which is where St. Catherine's and that sinkhole is at, down to the county line. EMAC is covering CDD 15, which is the CDD south of Monarch Grove, that surrounds Eastport and butts up against Middleton CDD, and it's CDD 14. Okay. So Greg R. says, 1, if EMAC is taking over work previously done by the CDD, shouldn't the CDD budget lines go down? No, because you still got to pay for it. Okay, EMAC is an entity. Let's call it a virtual entity. There is no EMAC CDD. It is an agreement to combine resources for better pricing and sharing of risk. Okay. Let's see. Is CDD 14 subsidizing the Eastport area because there are fewer people living there? No. Okay. First off, nobody lives in Eastport. Nobody will live in Eastport except at the hotel. Eastport is not a residential community. It is a commercial community development district. They will pay their portion of the expenses, and it's based on an acreage assessment. Walmart is calling me. Interesting. Anyway, let's see. But no, so it's not going to go down. It's just they're paying EMAC to do the work. Okay, it adds an extra layer. Again, it's about cost sharing. Let's see. Wow, we got a whole bunch here. Donna D says, wait, I'm almost caught up here. Wow, you guys have really hammered me with stuff here. This is great. I agree with Joe LaGrange. Again, Randy, again, I've explained it a couple of times. They were already being paid. It was being paid, but it was being paid by the developer. Scott says, let's face it, the shiny new penny Eastport already looks much better than District 14. I'm not buying into this. Well, Scott, you don't have to buy into it. You can believe whatever you want, okay? I deal in facts, and, this is the way it is. And that's just the way that these things happen. Again, this has happened in all the other CDDs, okay? As they've come online, their costs have gone up, okay? Again, Roberta says not all the homes are sold, so you have more property. Again, I've already covered that 4 or 5 times. Lynn K says, so glad, live north of 466. Okay. What's the difference north of 44? Well, north of 44, everything's been established. North of 44, the newest CDD is CDD 10, and it has been around for 10 years. Just part. I'm assuming that our son is asking because we have PWAC and EMAC. As PWAC grew, and they added 13 and 12 and CDD 12 and 13, the realization came that there were significant differences in the way those communities were laid out, and the goal was to separate that. There's difference in just the way the community looks. A lot more open area. They wanted to separate CDD separate everything south of 44 into PWAC 2 and start anew. That didn't happen again because CDD 7 leadership had his head up his butt. Sorry, no loss there. And so now they've created EMAC to take care of that. But they're not. Okay, so our son says, but they are not maintaining my lot. I am. You're absolutely right. But all the other stuff that isn't your lot and isn't one of your neighbor's lots, down the roadways along the sides, the cart paths and that, somebody's got to pay for it, and that's how this is done. Okay. Frank Jacobs says, okay, here we go again, about 1,000, 2,000 homes. Yes, there are 3,246 homes, I think it is. Again, the number of properties hasn't changed that were paying us. So the increase, so Jim says, so is the increase because these areas are now developed? Does that increase just put them in line with other areas that are built out? Pretty much, yes. Again, Roberta, the 500, you're talking about not paying a penny in fees. The developer was paying, they had to. I see 312 watching Dawn. Wow, okay. Unschool says, can you explain what happens in the monthly CDD meetings and why residents should attend? Good question. CDD meetings, they have various aspects. One of them is the budget. Budget activities start about February, and they have to be wrapped up by middle of June for submission to the county, which then submits them to the state. So that's a good portion of your activities. Also, there's things like, let's say somebody has a deed restriction violation. They got, I don't know, the little lawn knolls, whatever, lawn gnomes, that's what they are. 50 of them out in the yard. Somebody complains, and they don't take them down. They continue to get notified by community standards. Eventually, it's going to get elevated to the CDD board, and they take care of determining what actions to take. Normally, it starts with a fine, something like that. Other things are they approve contracts, the set policies for the CDD. A lot of different things happen, and it normally lasts 30 to 45 minutes at most. Again, I sat through probably hundreds of them in my tenure as a CDD 10 supervisor, and on Project-Wide Advisory Committee, I did both of those for almost 8 years. So lots and lots of meetings. But sadly, and it really is a shame, there are so few in attendance. I went to the CDD 15 meeting this past week. There was one resident there, and that was me. The rest was staff. Roberta says inflation is under 4%, though. Again, has little to do with inflation right now. This has to do with adding more stuff to take care of. Donna D, I feel like I was duped. Has this ever happened in another CD where increase was over 50%? I don't think it's ever been this high. Again, CDD 14 is definitely one of the smaller CDDs. Maybe it happened this much in 11, which is the Fruitland Park CDD with Pine Ridge and Pine Hills, because I think that was only 2,000 homes. But everybody saw a bump. Okay. Roberta says maintenance fees change from year to year. Year to year, brand new areas now mostly sold occupied will have a higher fee for the first year or two. It'll drop significantly after that. Maybe it really it depends on actual projected cost. If they over budgeted this year and the prices decrease, next year your budget will go down. But if things go up, it's going to go up. CDD 10. My last year there, we raised our maintenance assessment 15%. And part of that was due to cost increases. But the other part was in CDD 10, they have to maintain the villa roads. And I think that's going to be the same thing in 14. And we were looking at about a $2.5 million cost impact that was going to hit us in about 9 years. We didn't have any road maintenance reserves. So we insisted on putting an extra $200,000 in the budget for road maintenance reserves, and we had to raise the rates to cover it, because otherwise we're going to be caught shorthanded down the road when it comes time to do the resurfacing, because that has to be done about every 20 years. There was some attempts to get rid of that, but the CDD board held strong over the years, and it's still there. Let's see. Donna D says, this is a great talk. Thanks so much. I don't even live full-time in the villages yet. I haven't got a tax bill yet since I just closed in March. Yeah, if you closed in March, you should have got what was called a trim notice. I don't know when Lake County sends those out, though. Our son says, we do not have a clubhouse, golf cart path, hiking trails, manned gates, or large grassy expanse. Why is Dabney sharing cost? Prorated by village BS. Okay. So first off, you're talking about amenities. This has nothing to do with amenities, our son. Nothing. Okay. Golf cart paths, there are hiking trails. They run through various villages. Everybody gets to pay. This goes back to the same argument that, oh, well, I don't golf, so I shouldn't have to pay for that. Well, that's okay because I golf, but you play pickleball. I don't want to pay for your pickleball. We can't do this piecemeal. It doesn't work. Everybody gets to pay. It's just like national defense, the Coast Guard. Okay, somebody in Kansas and Nebraska doesn't get much directly from the Coast Guard and the cost associated with it, but they get to pay part of their property tax, or part of their income tax goes to fund the Coast Guard. Hey, living in Florida, we get a lot more benefit from the Coast Guard. So the folks in Kansas, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and all that, they get to help cover those costs. But they get things that they have costs that we don't. So it's everybody gets to share. Let's see. Frank wants to know, will we get a Village of Newell sign now? No. What you have is done. It's done. Victoria, thank you once again. Every week you're so generous. I appreciate the contributions. Lewis says, is this our monthly bill or paid annually with taxes? This is paid annually with taxes. Our son says, does this increase happen north of 44? Not this increase, but as costs go up, the CDDs north of 44 and all the CDDs have rates going up. So yes, it does happen. Tony wants to know, who do we contact to fix a down street light that is laying down Lake Denham Road? It's been there 6 weeks. The county? I'm not sure in Lake County who's handling that. Call the district property management. Tell them the issue. There's also a hotline number for the district government. Call them. Tell them what's going on. They know how to get the right people involved. Okay. Let's see. Barbara says, if our bank pays our property tax, will they know to pay this, or should we expect to receive a separate bill? So you're talking about out of your escrow. Yeah, this is going to be painful, and you're not going to like what you're going to hear. They will pay it next year out of your escrow account, and your escrow account will be underfunded. And because your escrow account is underfunded, they're going to have to not only raise your escrow assessment, but they're going to have to raise it a second time to cover what they've overspent. And then the year after that, it'll bring it back down to where it needs to be. This is the same thing that happens your second year living in the house, because your property taxes were based on a lot that was empty. It was undeveloped property. And then the following year, it's developed property, but you're still paying that lower escrow account assessment. And then year 3, you're going, what the heck happened here? It happens. I mean, it's trust me, I'm expecting it on this investment property. It hit me hard on this house when it happened, but there we go. Let's see. So Adam says, so this increase is a one-time for the year or every year or a permanent fee. So yes, it's permanent. It's a permanent increase. Yes, it's one time, but then there will be, let's call it a CPI, there will be an adjustment based on actual costs going up. How do I find out what CDD is for Shady Brook? Don, Shady Brook is in CDD 15. You can go to the districtgov.org website, and it has the list of all the villages that are in each CDD. Let's see. Lori says, thank you so much for the information. We are new homeowners. It's quite helpful. Great. Thank you. I appreciate it. Boardwalk Balance says, did you find out what they're building at 470 and Megason Were they cleaning the land? I have found out some more information, but I've taken a blood oath to secrecy, so I can't say yet. Let's see. Tom R says, I would love to see the actual annual historic increases year for year for assessments. Go to the districtgov.org website. Go to the budget department, I believe it is, and you can pull up the budgets from every year for as far back as they have them. And if you want more, you can submit an information request to the district government, and they will get them to you. So she goes fast. Wow, where do you come up with some of these names? Anyway, so what I'm hearing, we all need to attend this community hearing 9/12. You can go. I will tell you right now that this isn't going to change, because your district supervisors that are serving right now understand what I've been talking about today. They understand that costs have increased. They've got to get them covered. It would be a disservice to everybody who bought a house if you said, okay, we're not going to pay this, so we cut our maintenance, and then the neighborhood looks like dung and your property values get impacted. So yeah, no. You can go, you can express your dislike for this, but they're still going to approve it. I can almost guarantee it, 100%. Let's see. Chuck says, so you spoke about Duke and Seco. Is there a source that tells me which district uses which? Look at your electric bill, see who it's coming from. My electric bill in both my investment property and my current home that I'm sitting in right now are both through Seco, which is actually kind of nice because I make one online payment instead of two. Rob says, I'm looking at my ad valorem section. Do you know which line item this tax is? Does it come out of the county general fund? No, the county has nothing to do with this. Okay, it's in the non-ad valorem section, which is at the bottom or the back side of the property tax bill. The only thing the county has to do with this is the the tax assessor, Mr. Randy Mask. He administers the collection of these funds through the county tax bill, your annual county tax bill, and they charge a 2% fee to the district government, and for that service, and that's it. The county, that's the only involvement the county has. Our son says, "Are we paying for Eastport?" No, Eastport is paying for itself. Let's see. On the CDD website, where do I find the sheet showing our CDD? Let me see if I can bring up a web browser real quick. Oh, I don't have a web browser open, so there's nothing to capture. Pardon me just a second. I got a districtgov.org. I don't remember what my web browser's called. Oh yeah, Compass or... You would not believe the stuff I'm looking at on my screen, because I'm trying to capture something and it's like application capture. There's what I want. There it is. Give me just a second to center the display. And we are going to transition over. All right, so this is the District Gov website, districtgov.org. Go to departments. Oh, I'm looking at one screen and it's actually on another screen. All right, so departments, and then go to budget, And then you can go to, if we scroll down, you see CDD 14, and you can see the budget resolution for 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. And it's similar for all the other CDDs. This is CDD 10. It goes back to 15, 16. Beyond that, you need to do a request from the district government. Even CDD 1, it's going back. So this is where you would find the information on past budgets. All right. Joe says, Don, did you start earlier? The tube graphic shows this starting at 2:30. Nope, didn't start at 2:30. Started right on time. Do you know what's being built on the westbound side of 301 and at Bingham Road? No, I'm not. It's some commercial property. Does new business construction contribute to this? Is what Kim wants to know. The business properties contribute to it, yes. Their contribution is actually quite large. Let's see. Just lost my place here. There's so many questions on here, it's crazy. Okay, we talked about that one, let's see. Next one says, how is there more there? The amount of lots didn't change, just who's paying the tax. Again, there was nothing to maintain, Kelly, because the only thing that was built last year was the Village's Newell. So they were just taking care of that. But as more and more got finished, there was more and more to take care of. Let's see, Midge A says, how about the developer take a small break and quit building so fast until the economy improves to pay for all these costs? Haven't they made enough money? Well, Midge, who are you to tell them how much money to make? Nobody told you how much money you should make so that you could retire. But let me tell you what, if the developer stops building, we are talking about 15 to 20,000 jobs that will be lost. Okay? You want to see this economy take a dump? You lose 15, 20,000 jobs in Sumter County. Sumter County and the surrounding counties will take a major dump when it comes to the economy, because those folks are going to move away. Money stops coming in. It is really bad. Kelly says, seems like a lot of doublespeak. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's doublespeak. Again, let's see. Thank you for explaining difficult topics like this. Let's see. It'll take a while before you get this, but I said Eastport meant in the context of EMAC. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So basically what happens is the commercial districts are the ones that manage these project-wide funds, okay? Which is what you want. You don't want one CDD managing all these project-wide funds. This topic came up a few years back, and thank goodness it was shot down, because inevitably what will happen is, well, we need to take care of this in our district, and since we're managing the money, we'll do that. And then it gets out of control. So no, you don't want that. Developer derangement syndrome. Yep. So north of 44 are no more. There are no more maintenance increases. Is that correct? No, that is not correct. They will still go up. They will still go up as costs go up, and as if they take. Let's say that there's, a major lightning storm comes through and takes out 3 pumping stations. Okay, and it's going to cost them $5 million to fix. Well, that $5 million, just because of the project-wide agreement, will be spread out amongst the CDDs. Basically, everybody will see $500,000, let's say. They're going to have to come up with that money. So those CDDs will see that increase. But then after that cost is gone, they'll see the decrease. Tom R. says, you talk about CDD 10 north of Route 44. Did that CDD have a similar annual assessment increases the first 3 or 4 years? We did see some increases. Man, I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you, Tom. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But you know, pretty much everybody sees cost increases. Let's see. But I am being assessed more based on the size of my lot. Why am I paying more if I maintain it? It's not maintaining your lot, okay? On my YouTube channel, there's some information videos. Go watch the one on the maintenance assessment. It talks about how it's done. So I came late. Believe this increases on the millage rate, not the total tax. No, this has nothing to do with millage rate at all, Mush. Chris wants to know, why doesn't the village of Lake Denham have its own pool? Also, why can't we have later evening swims? That's an amenity question. This is how it was built. You know, you'd have to ask the developer, and you'll have to ask the rec department about later swimming times. Any idea what's being built on the other side of 470? Yes, but I can't talk about it. Let's see. Scott says, never meant to offend. Okay, I don't take offense. It just, anyway. Let's see. Dale Oak says, thanks for the explanation to how this all works in Florida. No bonds or maintenance fees in Michigan, where we live now in Tennessee. I understand how this works. I know. So, you know, Dale, you didn't have a bond, okay, but you still paid those costs. Your builder rolled them into the cost of the house. Here it's kept separate, and that has a lot of benefits. Again, go watch my my bond video. It's a couple of years old. I apologize for the quality. I've gotten a little better at it than that. You know, as far as maintenance fees, it's a community. You're getting a higher level of service living here in the villages than people are getting outside. Let's see. Tom R. says, why CDT 10? Just realized they needed a reserve to maintain the roads. The roads have known. Wow. So, Tom, I'm going to take that one personal, financial management, because I was the chairman of CDD 10 for several years, and I was the one who said we need to do this because we started looking ahead. It wasn't a financial management issue. Actually, it was. It was being responsible. We saw what was coming. We saw the other CDDs. Some of the other CDDs have road funds. We didn't have one established yet. So that's why we did it. It was good financial planning. Will the homes in Richmond be absorbed into that CDD or in the newest CDD? I believe they are part of CDD 13. So not BS amenities, I meant, sorry. Yeah, so it's not by amenities. Yes, this has nothing to do with amenities. So once the CDD is built out, will that maintenance fee stay at that price? Stay at that price forever? No, it won't. Again, inflation takes its toll. Let's see, a bump, 10, 15% is one thing. 15 is not a reasonable bump. Well, you got to pay for it. Got to pay for it. That's the bottom line. How about stop overspending? Bond, CDD, what else? So what's overspending? Okay. Overspending, this is not overspending. This is the actual costs involved. No more than that. They have some capital reserves. It's called working capital. And then there's another capital reserves account, but that is built up very slowly over the years. In CDD 10, the budget is about $6.5 million, I think, this year, and the capital reserves are about $4 million. And it took a long time to build it up. When I first took office, it was $1.6 million, and that was 10 years ago. Let's see. Jim Rogers says, does it make sense that when we bought last year in CDD 14, there was no CDD 15, so there wasn't yet maintenance cost for that area, and that is why the increase is so large now? No, has nothing to do with it. Has nothing to do with 15. Thanks for good information. Sorry, I came late. 15% is no millage or REU. No, it's not. None of that. Potential spam. Okay, we're going to let that one go. Let's see. Thanks. So, dang it, this thing jumps every now and then. Okay, good information. Increase. 470 will build apartments. Phil, I hate to disagree with you, but no. It will not be apartments. That is misinformation. Can you expect this 50% or more a yearly thing? No, it will not be. On a lighter note, three models, Franklin, Jubilee, Everett, has only one sink and a master bath. Yeah, I don't like those either. So how are assessment? Okay, so J.O. says, how are our assessments handled? For example, emergency assessments or any other possible assessments. That's what working capital and reserves are for. They handle the emergencies, and then there would be an adjustment the following year. Let's see. How much is this per year roughly? It depends, Jim. The increase is about $300. Man, that is like the third spam call I have gotten on my watch. Anyway, let's see. Mark Morgan says, FYI, live in Moultrie Creek, Precinct 117, early voting for you today at Everglades. Thank you very much. Let's see. Diane says, we are thinking about getting a screen for our front door, but I've seen a house with a screen, the whole front porch and screen. So I did that. So what Diane is asking is, I screened in my front lanai, the area under the roof, and I used white aluminum to do that. Very reasonably priced. Put in a nice screen door, and because eventually, when I do move there, I'll have my dogs. If the door is open, they don't bolt out into the street. My courtyard villa, I did the same thing. People will move away if the developer continues to be greedy. Well, you know what? You don't know what you're talking about, because I know a lot more about the developer than most, and they are not greedy people. You need to look up the definition of greed. They are business people. They will continue to make money. This maintenance assessment has nothing to do with the developer. Thank you, Mushki. Yeah. Cost increase this fast and high is troubling. Again, I've explained it enough times. I contribute to, okay. All right. I'm just looking for anything. Swim hours would be an insurance rate increase. Oh, yeah. Wonderful explanation. Thank you. Oh, thank you for voting for me. Anyway, very informative. I think 62 new Richmond homes are part of CD 13, Unit 115 bond. Yeah. Tom, I think you're right. I think they are part of 13. All right. I want to go back real quick to the slide presentation. Where'd it go? Questions? There it is. Fortunately, the way this Mac works, things get hidden. All right. Now I can't see it. So qualified electorate. CDD supervisors are they're either landowner elected or qualified electorate. And I see what's going on here. This is out of order. Okay, there we go. So we got landowner elected, which I already talked about. For every acre or portion thereof, you get one vote as a landowner. That's not one vote per person who's on the deed. It's just one vote basically for all the deed holders total. Qualified electorate is basically registered voters. Okay, it shifts to a qualified electorate representation after 6 years and after there are 250 qualified electorate. As it stands now, the CDD 14 is 2 or 3 years old. It's not hit the 6-year point, but the landowners that are there now will be electing new supervisors come November. I highly recommend getting involved. If you want to understand how our government works, this is, boy, a crash course. It is a major crash course in finance and understanding the law, and you will come away with a much better appreciation for what's going on. And, you know, again, the developer owns very few acres at this point in CDD 14. So it's very reasonable to assume that somebody who steps up that's a resident will get elected. Let's see. And you know what? I just realized. There we go. I forgot to transition and show you this screen. Sorry, folks. I was looking at this, talking to myself. All right. Let's see. So Randy says, thanks for the explanation. Not real happy about the large increase, but have a better understanding. I understand you're not happy about it. I wouldn't be either. And trust me, I'm not looking forward to the same thing happening over in 15. Let's see. You don't have money, so you stop spending. What a BS. It will continue until people will get smart and run from here. Hey, I-75 and I-95 run north and south. That's best I can tell you. These are costs that are associated with living here. Let's see. Joe says, do CDDs have the power to take out loans? I believe they do, and they can also issue bonds. That's not something you want to get into because that just raises your monthly maintenance assessment. The CDDs were put in place so the developer could pass along the cost. Some of the recreation centers are like giving the developer blank checks to spend whatever they want and pass it along. Phil, I would disagree. First off, the developer pays for nothing. The homeowners pay for everything, whether it be in the bond or when you buy your house. For them, everything is a cost associated with the house, or it's associated with the bond. That's the bottom line. As far as the rec centers, the developer owns the rec centers, not the residents. The developer owns, south of 44, the developer owns the rec centers. You pay to use them with your amenity fee. let's see. Snoopy Sleuth. Okay. It is troubling when things are not taken care of well as they used to be. Okay. Let's see. Shelley says, we were told a golf cart bridge would be built parallel to 470 across the Turnpike across the Turnpike to Eastport. Do you know if this will happen? I believe it will happen, but obviously until the plans come out, we won't know for sure. Phyllis says, you are drinking a Kool-Aid for the developer. Golf cart paths are so much better north of 466A. So I'm not drinking the developer Kool-Aid. I'm just dealing with the facts, but I do agree with you. They are better because they have the ribbon curbing. That was a cost-saving measure because the CDDs south of 466, or excuse me, south of 44, are much larger. The paths are much longer, and that was a significant expense. It was a cost-cutting measure to save that. Let's see. Jim Rogers says, I called ARC for screen and denim. They said under roof, front porch, didn't need approval. Screen guy said he had an issue with someone wanted white, denied not for the same color as I. Jim, I will tell you, I had to submit to ARC. Actually, didn't go to ARC. It was the developer's rep who approved it for 15. Submit for it. Don't take the chance. This individual could be wrong. Your phone call interrupted your answer to me and didn't answer. I'm coming next week for a lifestyle visit, and this is the first time I've heard of this fee. Roughly how much per year? It varies by the type of house and the unit that it's in, but from anywhere from $300 to $1,000. Just depends on it. But you can figure in CDD 14. Let me bounce back on my PowerPoint presentation and look. In CDD 14, they are running $600 to $800 on average. Okay. If you think slides are sharing, they're not up. Yeah, I saw that. Okay, CDD is not. CDD 13 is more compact than 14, and that's why their maintenance fees is less than 14. I call BS. Okay, fine. 15-minute drive from DeLuna to Citrus Grove, 5-minute drive from Newell to Dabney. Yes, I agree. There's also a lot more houses. CDD 13 is about 2,500 acres, and this is about 650 acres for 14. So, yeah. Okay. The answer is not being rude to people. Well, people be rude to me, I'll turn it in favor. Sorry. Darn commercial covered up your answer to my question. CDDs obtaining loans to cover shortfalls. Under Florida law, yes, they could take a loan to cover shortfall, but they have to maintain a balanced budget every year. That's Florida law. Taking a loan for shortfall is a bad measure because it ends up costing you much more. What contractor are you? Let's see. Lost where I was at. Is 470 going to be 4 lanes around Lake Denham? Eventually, yes. The paths are wider below 470, so they need to be cement along curving. Cement curbing is less needed. I would disagree, Mushke. Diane said, what contractor are you using? I used white aluminum. I'm assuming you're talking about the front screen. Is this an increase, just one time, or an increase, annual increase? This is a one time, but there will be annual increases eventually. I say this facetiously, but just how much blood are you willing to lose before telling us what is going on at Magazine 47? People trust me with information. It helps guide me in the right direction. But until I see it in a public source, I'm not going to, I don't say things. I know many things. Thank you, Judy Ann. I appreciate the donation. Let's see. Gail says, so why is that we have weeds now and outdoor exercise equipment is not taken care of? Villages used to be immaculate. So I don't know where you're having weeds, but if the exercise equipment isn't being taken care of, complain to the recreation department. That's their job. Hi, Don. Surprised to see you standing in a garage during the rainstorm yesterday. Beautiful home. Yeah. Thanks, Maureen. Yeah, that's my investment home. I was watching the rain come down. It was crazy, wasn't it? Thank you for your answer. Okay. Looking at CDD budgets, 13 appears to have been even higher, much higher. Okay. All right. Wow. So this has been much more detailed than I expected. We've gone an hour and a half, folks. I need to cut this short because I'd love to continue the discussion because I know there's lots of questions. But I have a political event I need to go to at where's it at? Eisenhower Recreation Center tonight. It's a Q&A session for candidates. So I'm looking forward to it. I think I've got 3 more of these to go, and that'll be it for the election season. If you haven't voted yet and you are a Sumter County resident, I encourage you, please go vote, whether it's early voting or, if you're going to vote on election day, either one, doesn't matter. If you've gotten a mail-in ballot, send in your mail-in ballot, but vote. It is a civic responsibility. I hope you vote for me, but whether you vote for me or not, if I've offended you, it is what it is. I apologize if I've offended you. Sometimes the remarks get a little too coarse, and everybody has their limits. But again, voting is a responsibility we as Americans should take very seriously. Please elect someone who is knowledgeable, who has integrity, and who is going to look out for everyone's best interest. Anyway. Thanks everyone for attending. This has been great. We will do this again next week. I'm not sure if I'll have a video for next week or not because of all the activities going on with the campaigning up to the end of the election. If not next week, it'll be the week after. But I will do Gold Wingnut Live again next Sunday at about 3 o'clock or 3:30. With that being said, I'm going to say, again, life is short. Enjoy the good things. Take and enjoy life. Don't get bogged down in stuff that is negative. There's so much negative stuff on the internet. Life is short. Most of us here are in our 60s, 70s, 80s. We don't know how many more plays we have left in this game. So play to your heart's content. Thanks again.